Hello, everyone. Tonight we're settling into a quiet journey, one that takes us back to a time long ago, to a medieval village nestled in the folds of a green valley. Picture yourself lying down, wrapped in a soft blanket, the world outside fading away. Let the gentle hum of a distant stream or the rustle of leaves in your mind carry you. Maybe you're remembering a moment from childhood, a summer evening when the air was warm and the stars felt close. Take a deep breath. Let your shoulders sink and allow your mind to drift. Close your eyes if you'd like and feel the weight of the day slip away. This story is for you, to cradle your thoughts and guide you toward rest. You might even drift off in a few minutes, and that's perfectly fine. So, before you get too cozy, relaxed, and slip into sleep, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I'm doing here. I'd also love to know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Drop it in the comments to share a piece of your world with us. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe switch on a fan for that soft hum of white noise. And let's begin our journey tonight. I'm standing at the edge of a village, its name lost to time, but its heartbeat still echoes in my mind. It's the year 1348 and the air carries the scent of freshly turned earth and blooming wildflowers. The valley cradles this place like a mother's arms, with rolling hills that stretch toward the horizon, their slopes dotted with grazing sheep. A wooden bridge arches over a babbling stream, its stones smoothed by centuries of footsteps. The village itself is a cluster of thatched cottages, their walls made of wattle and daub, glowing golden in the late afternoon sun. Chimneys puff lazy curls of smoke, and the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer rings faintly, a rhythm as steady as a pulse. I walk along a dirt path, my feet sinking slightly into the soft earth, still damp from last night's rain. The path winds past a small orchard, where apple trees heavy with fruit hum with bees. A woman in a linen apron kneels nearby, tending a garden of herbs, rosemary, sage, and thyme, her hands moving with the care of someone who knows the land like her own skin. She hums a tune, soft and lilting, and I pause to listen, feeling the warmth of the moment wrap around me. Further along, children chase each other through a meadow, their laughter rising like birdsong. They weave between stacks of hay, their bare feet leaving fleeting prints in the grass. The heart of the village lies ahead, where a stone church stands, its steeple piercing the sky. Its wooden doors are carved with simple vines, worn smooth by countless hands. Inside, I imagine the cool air smells of wax and old wood, the kind of scent that makes you breathe deeper. The church is quiet now, but I can hear the faint echo of hymns sung at dawn, their notes lingering in the rafters. Beside the church is a marketplace, alive with the hum of daily life. Merchants call out, offering wool, bread, and pottery. A baker slides a loaf from an oven, its crust crackling as it cools. The air here is rich with the yeasty warmth of bread and the tang of smoked fish from a nearby stall. I find a bench beneath an oak tree and sit, letting the village unfold around me. A man leads a cart pulled by a sturdy ox, its hooves thudding softly on the packed earth. The cart is piled with sacks of grain, and I notice the man's hands calloused, strong, the hands of someone who has worked this land his whole life. He nods to a neighbor, their exchange brief but warm, a reminder of the ties that bind this place together. The sun is dipping lower now, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. I close my eyes for a moment, letting the sounds wash over me, the creak of a cartwheel, the bleat of a lamb, the murmur of voices blending into a gentle hum. But there's something else in the air, something I can't quite name, a faint unease, like a shadow passing over the sun. I overhear a snippet of conversation from two women by the well. One speaks in a hushed tone, her words clipped, A traveler from the coast, she says. He spoke of a sickness, something fierce. The other woman shakes her head, her hands tightening around her bucket. Just tales, she murmurs, but her eyes dart toward the horizon, as if searching for answers. I feel a prickle on my skin, not from the evening chill, but from the weight of their words. The village feels smaller now, its edges sharper, as if it's bracing for something unseen. I rise from the bench and walk toward the stream, needing its steady flow to anchor me. The water is clear, catching the last of the light, and I kneel to trail my fingers through it. It's cold, grounding, and I let out a slow breath. The village is still beautiful, still alive, but I can't shake the feeling that something is coming. The children's laughter feels distant now, the hum of the market quieter. I stand and look back at the cottages, their windows glowing with the flicker of hearth fires. For now, the village holds its breath, unaware of the storm gathering beyond the hills. I linger by the stream, letting its soft gurgle fill the silence. My mind drifts to you, wherever you are, curled up and listening. Feel your breath slow, your body soften. Let the village's rhythm carry you, its steady pulse a reminder that you're safe here, in this moment. The Black Death is coming, but for now, we're here, together, in the calm before the storm. I'm walking through the village again, the morning sun casting long shadows across the dirt paths. The air feels heavier today, carrying a faint dampness from the dew that clings to the grass. My footsteps are soft, blending with the sounds of the waking village, the low cluck of hens, the creak of a shutter being opened, the distant thud of an axe splitting wood. I breathe deeply, letting the scent of wet earth and blooming clover ground me. The valley stretches around me, its hills a soft green, but there's a tightness in my chest, a quiet unease that lingers from yesterday's overheard words. I pass the well at the village center, where a small group of women gather, their voices low and urgent. Their buckets sit forgotten at their feet as they lean closer, words tumbling out in hushed fragments. I pause nearby, pretending to adjust my cloak and catch their conversation. One woman, her hair tucked under a worn cap, speaks of a traveler who arrived 2 days ago, a merchant from a port town far to the south. He looked pale, she says, her voice barely above a whisper, and he spoke of a fever sweeping through the docks, a sickness that spares no one. Her hands twist the edge of her apron, betraying her calm tone. Another woman, older, with deep lines etched around her eyes, shakes her head. Travelers always bring tales, she says, but her voice wavers, and she glances toward the road that leads out of the village. I follow her gaze, picturing the winding path that disappears into the hills, the same path the merchant must have taken. The road looks peaceful now, dappled with sunlight, but I imagine the merchant's cart, his weary steps, and the invisible burden he might have carried. My skin prickles, and I pull my cloak tighter, as if it could shield me from the weight of their words. I move on, heading toward the marketplace. But the usual bustle feels subdued. The baker is there, arranging loaves on a wooden table, but his movements are slow, his eyes darting to the faces around him. A fishmonger calls out, offering his catch, but his voice lacks its usual vigor. I notice fewer people than yesterday. Some stalls stand empty, their owners absent. I wonder if they're tending to someone at home or simply staying away, wary of the whispers. The air smells of bread and smoked fish, but there's something else, a faint sourness I can't place, like fear settling into the cracks of the village. I find a spot near the church and sit on a low stone wall, watching the village unfold. A man hurries past, his face drawn, carrying a bundle of cloth that looks like bedding. He doesn't meet anyone's eyes, and I wonder if someone in his home is unwell. Across the square, 2 men argue quietly, their gestures sharp. One points toward the hills, as if urging the other to leave, but the second shakes his head, his hands clenched. I can't hear their words, but their tension ripples through the air, and I feel it settle in my bones. The church doors are open, and I glimpse the flicker of candles inside. A priest stands at the threshold, his robe swaying as he speaks to a woman clutching a rosary. Her shoulders are hunched, and she nods at his words, but her eyes are distant, lost in worry. I imagine her praying for a husband, a child, or perhaps herself, seeking comfort in the familiar rhythm of faith. The priest's voice is steady, but I notice his hands tremble slightly as he gestures. Even he feels the shadow creeping closer. I rise and walk toward the stream, needing its calm to steady me. The water moves steadily, catching the sunlight in fleeting glints, and I kneel to dip my fingers in. It's cold, sharp against my skin, and I let out a slow breath, watching the ripples spread. The village is still here, still breathing, but the rumors are taking root. Like weeds in a garden, I think of the merchant again, his pale face, his stories of fever and death. Was he sick when he arrived? Did he leave something behind? Something that's now stirring in the village's veins? I stand and look back at the cottages, their thatched roofs glowing in the sunlight. A child runs past, chasing a hoop with a stick, his laughter bright but fleeting. His mother calls him back, her voice sharp, and he obeys, disappearing into a doorway. The village feels smaller today, its edges closing in, as if it's trying to protect itself. I walk along the stream, letting its soft gurgle fill the silence. My mind drifts to you, listening somewhere far away, your breath slowing as you sink deeper into your bed. Let the stream's rhythm carry you, its steady flow a reminder that you're safe. Even as the village begins to tremble, the whispers are spreading. I realize, as I pass a group of men near the blacksmith's forge, they speak of the port town, of ships that no longer sail, of streets littered with the dead. One man, his hands blackened from soot, says he heard the sickness moves like wildfire, burning through entire families in a single night. His words hang in the air, heavy and unyielding, and I feel a chill that has nothing to do with the breeze. I keep walking, my steps measured, trying to hold on to the village's warmth, the smell of baking bread, the hum of a spinning wheel from an open window, the distant bleat of sheep, but the unease is everywhere now, woven into the village's pulse. I notice a woman scrubbing her doorstep with fierce determination, as if she could wash away the rumors. A man stacks firewood outside his cottage, his movements hurried, his eyes scanning the road. The village is still alive, but it's holding its breath, waiting for something it can't yet name. I pause by an apple tree, its branches heavy with fruit, and pluck one, feeling its weight in my hand. It's warm from the sun, and I take a bite, letting the sweet juice ground me. For now, the village endures, but the shadow is growing, and I know it won't stay quiet for long. I'm standing in the village square, the morning air cool against my skin, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and damp straw. The sun is climbing, painting the thatched roofs with a soft golden glow, but the usual rhythm of the village feels off, like a song missing its beat. My breath slows as I take it all in, letting the quiet hum of the world around me settle my mind. I want you to feel this too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the village with me, its details vivid but gentle, lulling you toward peace. The church bells, which have rung every morning for as long as anyone can remember, are silent today. Their absence is heavy, like a weight pressing on the village's heart. I look toward the stone church, its steeple stark against the pale sky, and notice the doors are closed, no candlelight flickering within. A few villagers linger nearby, their faces drawn, whispering to each other. One man, his hands rough from years at the plow, murmurs about the priest, who hasn't been seen since yesterday. "He's tending to the sick," he says, his voice low, as if speaking too loudly might summon the truth. I walk past the marketplace, where the stalls are sparse, their wooden frames looking lonely without the usual crowd. The baker is absent, his table bare, and the fishmonger's voice is quieter, his pile of fish smaller than before. A woman hurries through, her basket empty, her eyes fixed on the ground. She doesn't stop to chat, as she would have days ago, and I feel the shift the village is pulling inward, its warmth fading. The air still carries the scent of bread, but it's faint, overshadowed by something sharper, like the tang of fear. I pause by the well, its stones cool under my fingers, and listen to the creak of a cart in the distance. A man leads an ox toward the fields, but his steps are slow, his shoulders hunched. I wonder if he's thinking of the rumors, the stories of fever that have begun to weave through the village like threads in a loom. The fields beyond the village are still green, dotted with grazing sheep, but fewer hands are tending them today. I notice abandoned tools, a rake leaning against a fence, a hoe left in the dirt as if their owners simply walked away. My steps take me to a narrow lane lined with cottages, their shutters tightly closed. From one, I hear a soft sob, muffled but piercing, and I stop, my heart tightening. I imagine a family inside, gathered around a loved one who's fallen ill, their voices hushed as they pray or whisper farewells. The sound fades, replaced by the rustle of leaves overhead, and I keep walking, needing to move, to feel the earth beneath my feet. The lane opens to a small garden, where herbs grow in neat rows, but no one tends them today. The rosemary and thyme sway in the breeze, their scent rising, and I breathe it in, letting it steady me. I find a bench under an oak tree and sit, the wood worn smooth by years of use. The village unfolds before me, but it's quieter now, its pulse slower. A child peeks from a doorway, her eyes wide, but her mother pulls her back, the door shutting with a soft thud. Across the square, two men stand by the forge, their voices low, their gestures tense. One points toward the hills, as if the answers lie beyond, but the other shakes his head, his hands clenched. I can't hear their words, but their fear is clear, a shadow that clings to them like damp cloth. The stream is nearby, and I walk to its edge, kneeling to trail my fingers through the water. It's cold, grounding, and I let its steady flow calm my thoughts. The village is changing, I realize, its routines unraveling like a frayed tapestry. The bells no longer ring, the market no longer hums, and the laughter of children has grown rare. I think of the priest, the baker, the families behind closed doors, and I wonder how many are already sick, how many are waiting for the fever to find them. I stand and look back at the village, its cottages still standing, their chimneys still trailing thin wisps of smoke, but the life within them feels fragile, like a candle flickering in a draught. I notice a woman sweeping her doorstep, her movements slow, as if she's trying to hold on to something normal. A man stacks firewood, his hands steady, but his eyes distant. The village is fighting to hold itself together, but the fear is stronger, seeping into every crack. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle gurgle carry you, its rhythm a reminder that you're safe, far from this village and its shadows. The Black Death is tightening its grip, but for now, we're here, together, watching the village try to hold on. I walk along the stream, my steps soft, the world around me quieting. The hills in the distance are still green, the sky still clear, but the village feels smaller, its edges sharper, as if it knows what's coming. I'm walking along a quiet lane in the village, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and wilting herbs. The sun hangs low, casting long shadows that stretch across the path like fingers reaching for something lost. My breath is slow, matching the rhythm of my steps, And I want you to feel this calm too wherever you are, sinking into your bed. Let the weight of the day slip away. Picture the village with me, its details soft and familiar, guiding you gently toward rest. The lane leads to a small cottage, its door ajar, a faint glow spilling from within. This is where the village healer lives, a woman named Agnes, whose hands have soothed fevers and mended broken bones for years. I pause at the threshold, the air inside heavy with the sharp tang of herbs, lavender, chamomile, and something bitter I can't name. Agnes is bent over a table, her gray hair slipping from its braid as she grinds dried leaves into powder. Her movements are steady but hurried, her face etched with lines deeper than I remember. I step inside, my footsteps soft on the packed earth floor, and she glances up, her eyes meeting mine for a moment before returning to her work. "They're sick," she says, her voice low, as if speaking too loudly might make it more real. She doesn't say who, but I know. The rumors of fever have become truth, creeping into homes like smoke. I watch her hands, calloused and sure, as she mixes the powder with honey, forming a paste. "This might help," she murmurs, but there's a tremor in her voice, a crack in her usual certainty. I notice a pile of cloths on the table, stained and crumpled, and a bucket of water tinged pink. The sight makes my chest tighten, but I breathe deeply, focusing on the scent of lavender to steady myself. I follow Agnes as she gathers her remedies, small vials of oil, bundles of dried herbs, a wooden bowl filled with the paste. She wraps them in a cloth and slings it over her shoulder, her steps purposeful but heavy. We leave the cottage and head toward a cluster of homes on the village's edge, where the air feels colder, the silence deeper. The first house we enter is dim, the shutters closed, the hearth barely smoldering. A woman lies on a straw pallet, her face flushed, her breath shallow. Her husband stands nearby, his hands twisting a rag, his eyes hollow. Agnes kneels beside the woman, her voice soft as she murmurs words of comfort. But I see the doubt in her eyes. She presses a damp cloth to the woman's forehead, then smears the herbal paste across her chest. The room smells of sickness, a sourness that clings to the air, and I step back, my fingers brushing the rough wall. Agnes works quietly, her hands moving with the rhythm of someone who has done this countless times. But I notice her pause, her fingers lingering on the woman's wrist, feeling for a pulse that's growing weaker. She doesn't speak, but her silence says enough. The husband watches, his face crumpling, and I look away, focusing on the flicker of a candle on a nearby table. We move to another house, then another, each one darker, heavier. In one, a child lies still, his small chest barely rising. In another, an old man coughs, his breath rattling like dry leaves. Agnes tries everything: herbs, oils, prayers whispered under her breath, but the sickness is stubborn, slipping through her fingers like water. I see her frustration in the set of her jaw, the way her hands tremble as she rewraps her remedies. She's fighting a battle she doesn't understand, using tools that feel smaller with every passing hour. Outside, the village is quiet, the usual sounds, children's laughter, the clang of the blacksmith's hammer, gone. I notice a neighbor watching from a doorway, her face pale, her arms crossed tightly. She doesn't approach, doesn't offer help, and I understand why. Fear is a wall now, keeping people apart. Agnes doesn't seem to notice, her focus on the next house, the next sick bed. I follow, my steps heavy, the weight of what I've seen settling into my bones. We return to her cottage as dusk falls, the sky bruising purple. Agnes sets her bundle on the table, her shoulders sagging. She doesn't speak, but I see the exhaustion in her eyes, the quiet grief of someone who knows she's losing. I want to tell her she's doing enough, that her hands are a gift to this village, but the words feel hollow. Instead, I sit on a stool by the hearth, letting the faint crackle of the fire fill the silence. The village is slipping, I realize, and Agnes can't stop it, no matter how hard she tries. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and steady. Let the hearth's gentle warmth wrap around you, its soft glow a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. Agnes's fight is not yours, but her care, her quiet strength, is something we can hold on to. I close my eyes, picturing the village outside, its cottages dark, its paths empty. The Black Death is here, and it's stronger than any remedy, but for now, we're here together, in this small moment of stillness. I'm sitting on a wooden bench outside a cottage, the evening air cool and heavy with the scent of wood smoke and fading wildflowers. The village is hushed, its usual hum replaced by a stillness that presses against my skin. My breath is slow, matching the gentle sway of a nearby willow, and I want you to feel this quiet too wherever you are. Curled up in your bed, let your body soften, your mind drift. Picture the village with me, its edges softened by dusk, guiding you gently toward peace. The cottage behind me belongs to a family I've seen often in the marketplace, a mother, a father, and their 2 children, always laughing, their voices bright. But tonight, the windows are dark, the hearth cold. I heard whispers in the square earlier, words like fever and gone, and now I'm here, drawn to this place by a need to understand. The door is slightly open, and I step inside, my footsteps soft on the packed earth floor. The air is thick, carrying a sourness that makes my throat tighten. A single candle flickers on a table, its light barely reaching the corners of the room. In the dim glow, I see the mother, Ellen, sitting by a straw pallet where her youngest, a boy no older than 5, lies still. His face is pale, his small hands folded on his chest, and I know without asking that he's gone. Ellen's shoulders are hunched, her hands clutching a scrap of cloth, his blanket. Maybe. She doesn't look up as I stand there, but her grief fills the room, heavy and unyielding. I want to speak, to offer something, but the silence is louder, and I let it hold us both. I notice the father, Thomas, in the corner, his back to the room. He's carving something with a small knife, his hands moving slowly, as if the act is all that keeps him anchored. The older child, a girl named Marjorie, is nowhere to be seen, and I wonder if she's with neighbors or hiding somewhere, too young to carry this loss. The family is broken, I realize, torn apart in the space of a single night. The Black Death doesn't care for their laughter, their love, their plans for the harvest. It takes without reason, leaving only echoes. I step outside, needing the air, and sit again on the bench. The village feels smaller now, its cottages huddled closer, as if trying to shield themselves. I think of other homes, other families waking to the same emptiness. Earlier today, I passed a man carrying a bundle of clothes to the stream, his face blank, his steps mechanical. A woman knelt by her garden, staring at the herbs as if they could explain why her husband didn't wake. The fever moves like a thief, stealing breath, stealing futures, and the village can't outrun it. My mind drifts to Ellen, still inside, her hands clutching that cloth. I imagine her yesterday, tucking her son into bed, singing softly, her voice a thread of warmth in the dark. Now that warmth is gone, and I wonder how she'll carry on, how any of them will. The village is a tapestry, each family a thread, but the threads are snapping, one by one. I close my eyes, letting the faint rustle of leaves overhead ground me. The willow sways, its branches whispering, and I breathe deeply, holding on to the sound. I walk toward the stream, its gentle gurgle a steady pulse in the quiet. The water catches the last of the twilight, shimmering faintly, and I kneel to touch it, letting its coldness anchor me. The village is grieving, I realize, not just for one child, one family, but for itself. The marketplace is empty, the church silent, the fields untended, yet life clings on somewhere. A dog barks, a shutter creaks, a mother hums to her living child. These small sounds are defiance, fragile but real. I look back at the cottage, its door still open, the candles glow a faint beacon. Ellen is still there, Thomas too, and I know they'll rise tomorrow, because they must. The village will carry their pain, just as it carries the pain of others, woven into its earth, its stones. My heart aches for them, but I feel a quiet strength too, a reminder that even in loss, there's something unbroken, something that endures. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's soft rhythm wrap around you, its steady flow a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's sorrow. The Black Death is relentless, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for Ellen, for Thomas, for all who remain. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the stream, the village fading into the night. The stars are emerging, faint but steady, and I let them guide me, their light a quiet promise of rest. I'm standing at the edge of a field just beyond the village, the air sharp with the scent of turned earth and fading clover. The morning is still, the sky a heavy gray, and the fields stretch out before me, their green dulled by neglect. My breath is slow, matching the faint creak of a distant mill wheel, now silent. And I want you to feel this quiet too wherever you are. Curled up in your bed, let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the fields with me, their vastness gentle, their stillness a soft guide toward rest. The fields, once alive with the hum of work, are empty now, their rows of barley and wheat left to droop under the weight of recent rain. I walk along a path, my boots sinking slightly into the mud, and notice a plow abandoned mid-furrow, its wooden handle weathered, its blade rusted. Nearby, a scythe lies in the grass, its curve catching the faint light, as if waiting for hands that won't return. The village depended on these fields, their harvest the rhythm of survival, but the Black Death has stilled them, leaving the land to mourn in silence. I think of the farmers who worked here, men and women whose lives were tied to the seasons, their hands rough from years of sowing and reaping. I picture Thomas, the father I saw carving wood in his grief, his broad shoulders bent over this very field not long ago, guiding the plow with steady strength. Now, his hands are idle, his family broken, and the field lies untouched. I wonder how many others are like him, too sick or too heartsick to work, their tools left to gather dew. Further along, I reach the mill, its stone walls dark with moss, its wheel motionless in the stream. The air smells of damp wood and stagnant water, and I step inside, the floor gritty under my feet. The grindstones are still, their surfaces dusted with flour, a faint trace of the bread that fed the village. I touch the stone, its coolness grounding me, and imagine the miller, a man whose laughter once carried over the hum of the wheel. I haven't seen him in days, and the silence of the mill tells me why. The village is losing its makers, its keepers, and the ripple of their absence spreads wide. I walk back to the fields, noticing the sheep grazing aimlessly, their wool matted, no shepherd to guide them. A few wander toward the village, bleating softly, and I feel their confusion, their need for care. The pastures, like the fields, are untended, the fences sagging, the gates unlatched. I pause by a low hedge, its branches tangled, and see a basket half buried in the grass, its weave frayed, its contents onions, perhaps long gone. Someone left it behind, maybe in haste, maybe in despair, and I feel the weight of their absence, heavy as the clouds above. The village is unraveling. I realize its roots in the land weakening. Without the fields, the mill, the shepherds. There's no harvest, no flour, no wool to trade. The marketplace is already empty, the church silent, and now the fields join them. A quiet surrender to the plague's grip. Yet there are still signs of life. A bird flits across the sky. A patch of wildflowers blooms stubbornly by the path. A distant dog barks. These small sparks remind me that the land endures, even when its people falter. I find a stone wall and sit, the rough surface steady beneath me. The fields unfold before me, vast and quiet, their stillness a mirror of the village's grief. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the field's gentle hush wrap around you, their vastness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. The Black Death is relentless. But for now, we're here, together, holding space for the land, its memory, its quiet strength. I close my eyes, picturing the plow, the mill, the sheep, and let their stillness carry me, a promise of rest in a world paused by loss. I'm standing on a hill overlooking the village, the late afternoon air cool and heavy with the scent of pine and distant smoke. The valley below is bathed in a soft, fading light. The cottages huddled together like weary travelers seeking shelter. My breath is slow, matching the gentle sway of the tall grass around me. And I want you to feel this quiet too wherever you are. Nestled in your bed, let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the valley with me, its contours gentle, its stillness a soft cradle for rest. From this vantage point, I see the manor house, its stone walls stark against the rolling fields, its gates closed tight. This is where the village's nobles live, Lord Edmund and his family, whose wealth and power have shaped this place for generations. But today, the manor is silent, its windows dark, no servants moving through the courtyard. I heard whispers in the village yesterday, hushed voices speaking of the Lord's plan to flee, to escape the Black Death that's choking the valley. I imagine them now, packing in haste, their fine clothes stuffed into chests, their horses saddled under the cover of dawn. I walk down the hill, my steps soft on the dew-damp grass, and head toward the manor's outer wall. The path is narrow, lined with gnarled oaks, their branches casting long shadows that feel like warnings. As I near the gate, I see signs of departure, a cart track in the mud, deep and uneven, as if loaded heavily, a forgotten glove, its leather fine but stained, lying in the dirt. The nobles thought they could outrun the plague, I realize, their wealth a shield against the shadow creeping through the village. But the sickness doesn't bow to titles or gold, and I wonder if they'll find safety or carry the fever with them. I think of the village they left behind, its fields untended, its marketplace empty, its people grieving. Lord Edmund was a distant figure, his manor a world apart, but his presence held the village together, his taxes, his protection, his judgment. Now, his absence is another wound, another thread snapped in the tapestry of this place. I picture the villagers' faces, their eyes hollow as they watch the cart roll away, knowing their lord had abandoned them to face the plague alone. I pause by the stream that runs near the manor, its water slow and clear, catching the last of the light. I kneel and dip my fingers in, the coldness grounding me, and I think of the stories I've heard of nobles fleeing to distant estates, locking themselves in towers, believing stone walls could keep death at bay. But the plague is a hunter, slipping through cracks, riding on breath. And I imagine Lord Edmund's family, miles away now, checking each other for fever, their fear growing with every cough. Their flight was in vain, I suspect, and the thought settles heavily in my chest. I rise and walk back toward the village, passing a cottage where a woman sweeps her doorstep, her movement slow, deliberate. She doesn't look up, but I feel her awareness of the manor's emptiness, her quiet resentment. The noble's departure has left the village to fend for itself, its people forced to lean on each other, on healers like Agnes, on prayers whispered in the dark. The Black Death doesn't discriminate, but it's the poor who bear its weight, their hands digging graves, their hearts carrying the loss. I find a low bench near the church and sit, the wood worn smooth by years of use. The village unfolds before me, its chimneys trailing thin wisps of smoke, its paths quiet. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle flow wrap around you, its rhythm a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. The noble's flight has left a scar, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the villagers, their resilience, their quiet strength. I close my eyes, picturing the manor's empty halls, the cart tracks fading in the mud, and let the valley's hush carry me, a promise of rest in a world marked by loss. I'm walking along a narrow path toward the village graveyard, the evening air cool and heavy with the scent of freshly turned earth and wilting grass. The sky is bruising purple, stars just beginning to pierce the dusk, and the silence around me is deep, broken only by the soft crunch of my steps. My breath is slow, matching the faint rustle of leaves overhead, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, curled up in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the graveyard with me, its shadows gentle, its stillness a soft cradle for rest. The graveyard lies just beyond the church, its low stone wall crumbling in places, moss softening the edges. As I approach, I see the mounds of earth, too many, too fresh, their surfaces raw against the older graves, whose stones are worn smooth by time. The Black Death has filled this place faster than anyone could have imagined, and the task of burial has become a grim rhythm, a necessity that weighs on the village like a stone. I pause at the gate, my hand resting on the cold iron, and feel the sorrow woven into the air, heavy but not sharp, a quiet ache that settles in my bones. I step inside, my footsteps hushed on the uneven ground, and see two men working in the fading light. Their shovels bite into the soil, the sound steady but labored, their faces shadowed with exhaustion. One is older, his hair streaked with gray, his hands steady despite the tremble in his shoulders. The other is younger, barely a man, his eyes hollow, his movements mechanical. They don't speak, don't look at each other, but their shared silence is a bond, a way to carry the weight of what they're doing. Nearby, a simple wooden cross marks a new grave, its wood still pale, no name carved yet. I think of the families these graves belong to: mothers, fathers, children like Marjorie's brother, taken in the night. Each mound is a story, a life that warmed the village with laughter, work, love. I imagine Ellen, the mother I saw clutching her son's blanket, standing here, her hands empty, her heart broken. The men dig for her, for others, for those too weak or too lost to do it themselves. The task is endless. I realize, the earth barely settling on one grave before another is needed. The graveyard is growing, spilling beyond its walls, claiming the meadow where children once played. I kneel by an older grave, its stone tilted, its inscription faded, and trace the letters with my fingers. The coolness grounds me, and I close my eyes, picturing the village as it was full of voices, movement, life. Now, the graveyard is its mirror, holding the village's losses, its silenced hearts. I hear a soft thud as the men finish another grave, their shovels resting now, and I open my eyes. The younger man wipes his brow, his hands stained with dirt, and I see a flicker of something grief, perhaps, or defiance in his face. He's burying someone he knew, I'm sure, but he keeps going, because the village needs him to. I stand and walk among the graves, noticing small tokens left behind, a ribbon tied to a cross, a stone placed carefully on a mound, a sprig of rosemary tucked into the earth. These are the villagers' quiet farewells, their way of holding on to those they have lost. The air smells of soil and decay, but also of the rosemary, its sharp sweetness a faint thread of life. I breathe it in, letting it steady me, and feel the graveyard's strange peace, a place where sorrow rests but doesn't overwhelm. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the graveyard's gentle hush wrap around you, its stillness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's grief. The Black Death is relentless, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the diggers, their labor, their quiet strength. I leave the graveyard, pausing at the gate to look back, the mounds fading into the dusk. The stars are brighter now, their light soft but steady, and I let them guide me, a promise of rest in a world heavy with loss. I'm sitting on a low stone wall near the village square, the night air cool and heavy with the scent of damp earth and faint lavender. The stars are faint, half hidden by clouds, and the village is wrapped in a stillness that feels both fragile and deep. My breath is slow, matching the soft rustle of leaves in a nearby tree, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the village with me, its shadows gentle, its silence a soft cradle for rest. Fear has taken root in the village, and with it, superstitions are blooming like weeds in a forgotten garden. I see it in the way people move, their steps hesitant, their eyes darting to the shadows. Earlier today, I watched a group of women gather by the well, their voices low, their hands clutching charms, twisted bits of straw, stones etched with crude symbols, sprigs of herbs tied with thread. One woman, her face pale, spoke of a curse, a punishment sent from above. Another blamed a traveler, his strange accent proof of some dark intent. Their words were sharp, desperate, searching for a reason in a world unraveling. I walk toward a cottage where a faint glow spills from an open window. Inside, a family huddles around a small fire, their faces tense. The mother scatters salt across the threshold, her hands trembling as she murmurs a prayer to ward off evil. Her husband carves a mark into the doorframe, a rough cross, meant to protect them from the sickness. Their children watch, wide-eyed, clutching rags twisted into shapes meant to guard their dreams. I feel their fear, heavy as the smoke curling from the hearth, and I understand their need to act, to believe they can push back the darkness. Further along, I see a bonfire burning at the village's edge, its flames licking the night sky. A small crowd surrounds it, their faces lit by the glow, their voices rising in a chant I don't recognize. They're burning bundles of cloth, old shoes, anything touched by the sick, believing the fire will cleanse the plague's taint. An old man tosses a wooden charm into the flames, his lips moving silently, and I wonder what he's asking for: forgiveness, protection, or simply an end to the terror. The air smells of charred wood and herbs, sharp and bitter, and I step back, letting the heat fade from my skin. I think of Agnes, the healer, whose remedies are now seen by some as suspect, her knowledge too close to the mysteries they fear. I heard a man in the square whisper that her herbs might carry the sickness, not cure it. The thought makes my chest tighten. Her hands, so steady, so caring, now doubted in a village desperate for someone to blame. Scapegoats are easier than truth, I realize, and fear twists reason into something cruel. I picture Agnes alone in her cottage, grinding her herbs, her face lined with worry, and I wish I could tell her the village still needs her, even if it doesn't know it. I find a path leading to the stream and follow it, needing its steady flow to calm my thoughts. The water moves slowly, catching the faint starlight, and I kneel to touch it, its coldness grounding me. The village is grasping at rituals, at anything to feel in control. But the Black Death is a tide, unmoved by charms or fire. Yet these acts, the salt, the crosses, the bonfire, are the village's heartbeat, a refusal to surrender completely. They're flawed, born of fear, but they're human, and I hold on to that, letting it steady me. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle gurgle wrap around you, its rhythm a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's fear. The Black Death is relentless, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the villagers, their rituals, their fragile hope. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the stream, the village fading into the night, the clouds part, revealing a single star, its light small but steady, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world gripped by shadows. I'm walking through the village at twilight, the air cool and heavy with the scent of damp straw and faint herbs. The sky is a deepening blue, stars just beginning to emerge, and the village is cloaked in a hush that feels both weary and tender. My breath is slow, matching the soft creak of a shutter swaying in the breeze, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the village with me, its edges softened by dusk, guiding you gently toward rest. A figure moves through the mist ahead, cloaked in dark cloth, a strange beak-like mask covering their face. This is the plague doctor, a stranger who arrived days ago, summoned by desperation as the Black Death tightened its hold. I follow at a distance, my steps soft on the packed earth, drawn by the eerie rhythm of his movements. His mask, stuffed with herbs to ward off the miasma, gives him an otherworldly air, like a specter gliding through the village. The air smells faintly of lavender and cloves, sharp against the sourness of sickness that lingers everywhere. He stops at a cottage, its door marked with a rough cross, and knocks softly. A woman opens it, her face pale, her hands trembling as she gestures inside. I linger by a fence, watching as the doctor enters, his leather bag heavy with tools and remedies. Through the open door, I glimpse a child on a pallet, her breath shallow, her skin flushed. The doctor kneels, his gloved hands moving with careful precision, checking her pulse, inspecting the dark swellings on her neck. He speaks in a low murmur, his voice muffled by the mask, offering words meant to comfort, though I see the mother's eyes, hollow with fear, searching for hope he can't give. I think of Agnes, the healer, whose hands are now doubted, her herbs replaced by this stranger's potions and lancets. The doctor's methods are foreign, bleeding the sick, burning pastes of sulfur, prescribing tinctures that smell of vinegar and ash. I wonder if he believes in them or if he's simply acting, giving the village something to cling to. His mask, meant to protect, also hides him, keeping him apart from the people he tends. I feel a pang for Agnes, her warmth, her connection to the village, now overshadowed by this figure who moves like a shadow. The doctor leaves the cottage, the mother closing the door behind him, and I follow as he moves to the next house. The village is a maze of suffering now, each home a battleground, and he's its weary soldier. I notice his steps are slower, his shoulders slightly hunched, as if the weight of what he's seen is pressing down. At another cottage, he lances a swelling on an old man's arm, the man wincing but too weak to cry out. The doctor cleans the wound with a cloth, his movements methodical, but I see his hands pause, a flicker of doubt in his posture. The sickness is stronger than his tools, and he knows it. I pause by the stream, needing its steady flow to calm my thoughts. The water moves slowly, catching the starlight, and I kneel to touch it, its coldness grounding me. The doctor's visits are a ritual, like the bonfires and charms, a way to fight the darkness. even if it's futile. I picture him alone later, removing his mask, his face lined with exhaustion, his own fears hidden from the village. He's human, I realize, not a specter, and the thought softens the strangeness of his presence. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle gurgle wrap around you, its rhythm a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. The Black Death is relentless, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the doctor, his quiet labor, his masked courage. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the stream, the village fading into the night. The stars are brighter now, their light small but steady, and I let them guide me, a promise of rest in a world heavy with shadows. I'm kneeling by the stream that winds through the village, its waters slow and dark under a sky heavy with clouds. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of wet stone and wilting reeds, and the world feels hushed, as if holding its breath. My breath is slow, matching the gentle ripple of the current, and I want you to feel this quiet too wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the stream with me, its flow steady, its presence a soft guide toward rest. The village is unraveling, its spirit fraying like a worn tapestry. The stream, once a place of laughter where children splashed, women washed linens, and men rested after the fields, now feels lonely, its banks untouched by footsteps. I trail my fingers through the water, its coldness sharp against my skin, and think of how it used to carry the village's life. Marjorie played here, her giggles mingling with her brothers. Ellen washed her family's clothes, her hands steady. Even Agnes gathered herbs along its edges, her voice humming softly. Now, the stream carries only silence, as if it's mourning the community it once held. I rise and walk along the bank, my steps soft on the damp grass. The village feels distant, its cottages shuttered, their chimneys barely smoking. The marketplace is gone, the church quiet, the fields abandoned, and with them, the ties that bound people together. I think of the square, where neighbors once shared stories over bread, or the church, where voices rose in song, those moments of connection of hands clasped, smiles exchanged, burdens shared are fading, replaced by fear that keeps doors closed and eyes averted. I pause by a willow, its branches trailing into the stream, and notice a scrap of cloth caught in the roots. Its weave faded but familiar. It might have been a child's, torn from a game, or a woman's, left behind in haste. I leave it there, a small relic of the village's past, and feel the weight of what's been lost, not just lives, but the warmth of togetherness, the trust that made this place a home. The Black Death is a thief, stealing breath and hope, leaving the village to drift like a boat unmoored. Further along, I see a woman standing by the stream, her shawl loose around her shoulders. She's staring at the water, her hands empty, her face etched with grief. I recognize her, a weaver whose laughter once carried through the marketplace. Now, she's alone, her family gone, her loom silent. She doesn't move as I pass, and I don't speak, respecting the space her sorrow demands. I wonder if she's remembering the stream as it was, or if she's letting it wash away her pain, carrying it downstream to some distant place. The village is breaking, I realize, not just in its fields or homes, but in its heart, the stream, the square, the church. These were its gathering places, where stories were told, where bonds were forged. Now, fear has driven people apart, and the plague has taken those who might have rebuilt. Yet the stream still flows, steady and unyielding, and I cling to that, letting its rhythm anchor me. I think of the few who remain the woman by the water, the men digging graves, the plague doctor with his masked resolve. They're the village's pulse, faint but stubborn, I sit on a smooth stone by the stream, its surface cool beneath me, and close my eyes. The water's gurgle is a lullaby, soft and constant, and I let it fill the silence. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle flow wrap around you, its steadiness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's loss. The Black Death is relentless, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the stream, its memory, its quiet strength. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the bank, the village fading into the night. The clouds part, revealing a faint star, its light small but steady, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world adrift. I'm standing in a narrow lane behind the village, the morning air cool and heavy with the scent of sawdust and old leather. The cottages here are quiet, their shutters closed, but I'm drawn to a small workshop, its door ajar, a faint glow spilling onto the cobblestones. My breath is slow, matching the soft creak of a sign swaying above the door. And I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the workshop with me, its shadows gentle, its stillness a soft cradle for rest. This is the weaver's workshop, where looms once hummed, filling the air with a rhythmic clack of wood and the soft rustle of thread. I step inside, the floor gritty with dust, and see the looms standing silent, their threads slack, their benches empty. The air smells faintly of wool and dye, but the vibrancy is gone, replaced by a stillness that feels like a held breath. Bolts of cloth, half finished, lean against the walls, their colors deep blue, warm ochre muted in the dim light. A shuttle lies on the floor, as if dropped mid-task, and I feel the absence of the hands that once guided it. I think of the weavers, men and women whose skill wove the village's story blankets for winter, tunics for children, sails for the mill. Their work was the village's heartbeat, traded in the marketplace, carried to distant towns. Now, the Black Death has stilled their hands, some taken by fever, others too afraid or too grieving to work. I picture the weaver I saw by the stream, her laughter silenced, her loom untouched, her craft, like so many others, is fading, leaving the village poorer, its texture less rich. I walk to a nearby forge, its fire cold, its anvil untouched. The blacksmith's tools a hammer, tongs, a chisel rest on a bench, their handles worn smooth by years of use. The air here is sharp with the memory of molten iron, but the bellows are still, the hearth dark. I touch the anvil, its surface cool, and imagine the blacksmith, his broad hands shaping horseshoes, plow blades, nails that held the village together. His absence is a gap, like a missing tooth, and I wonder if he's gone or simply hiding, waiting for the plague to pass. Further along, I find the potter's shed, its wheel motionless, clay dried and cracked in a bucket, rows of pots, some glazed, some raw, line the shelves, their curves catching the faint light. I pick up a small jug, its handle smooth, and feel the care in its making, the potter's fingers shaping it for a family's table. Now, the shed is empty, the potter's laughter once a fixture in the square gone. The village's artisans, its makers, are slipping away, and with them, the skills that gave this place its shape, its pride. I step outside, the lane quiet, the village holding its breath. The artisan's tools are still, but their work endures in the blankets warming a child, the horseshoe steadying a cart, the jug holding water for a weary soul. These are the village's roots, deep and stubborn, and I cling to them, letting their memory ground me. I think of the few who might return, who might pick up the shuttle, the hammer, the clay, and weave the village back together, thread by thread. I find a bench by the stream and sit, the wood rough beneath me. The water moves slowly, its gurgle a soft lullaby, and I close my eyes, letting it fill the silence. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle flow wrap around you, its rhythm a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's loss. The Black Death is relentless, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the artisans, their craft, their quiet legacy. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the lane, the village fading into the morning mist. A single bird calls, its note small but clear, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world paused by silence. I'm sitting on a wooden stool outside a small cottage, the evening air cool and heavy with the scent of damp thatch and fading rosemary. The village is quiet, its paths empty, the stars above faint through a veil of clouds. My breath is slow, matching the soft creak of a nearby gate swaying in the breeze. And I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the cottage with me, its glow dim, its silence a gentle cradle for rest. This is the home of a widow named Beatrice, a woman whose hands once kneaded bread for the market, whose voice carried hymns in the church. I've seen her before, her gray hair tucked under a cap, her smile warm as she shared apples with children. Now, she's alone. Her husband and son taken by the Black Death in the span of a week. I step closer to the cottage, the door slightly ajar, and see her inside, sitting by a low fire, her hands folded in her lap, a single candle casting shadows on the walls. The air smells of wax and old wool, a faint trace of the life she's lost. Beatrice's grief is silent, woven into the stillness of her movements. She stares at the fire, its flame small but steady, and I notice a wooden spoon on the table, its handle worn from years of use. It's the kind of thing her husband might have carved, a simple gift from their early days, now a relic of a world gone. I imagine her running her fingers over it at night, tracing its curves, holding on to the memory of his touch. Her son's boots, small and scuffed, sit by the door, untouched, as if waiting for him to run in, laughing from the fields. I slip inside, my steps soft, and settle on the floor near the hearth, the warmth faint but comforting. Beatrice doesn't look up, but I feel her presence, heavy with loss yet anchored by something unyielding. She's endured, I realize, through days of fever, nights of weeping, moments when the silence must have felt like a weight too great to bear. Yet here she is, sitting by her fire, her hands steady, her breath even. I wonder what keeps her going, perhaps the rhythm of routine, the need to sweep the floor, to tend the herbs, to light the candle each evening. I think of the village around her, its homes darkened, its people scattered by fear or death. Beatrice's grief is one thread in a tapestry of loss, shared by mothers, fathers, children like Marjorie, all carrying their private sorrows. But her resilience is a thread too, quiet but strong, woven into the village's bones. I picture her tomorrow, rising at dawn, kneading dough with those steady hands, offering a loaf to a neighbor, her kindness a small act of defiance against the plague's shadow. The fire crackles, a soft pop breaking the silence, and I close my eyes, letting its warmth settle into me. The cottage feels like a sanctuary, small but whole, a place where grief and strength coexist. I imagine Beatrice's life before her husband's laughter, her son's chatter, the hum of a village alive with hope. Those memories are her anchor, I think, keeping her tethered even as the world shifts beneath her. The Black Death has taken so much, but it hasn't taken her spirit, her quiet resolve to endure. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the fire's gentle glow wrap around you, its warmth a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's sorrow. Beatrice's grief is heavy, but her strength is a light, and for now, we're here, together, holding space for her, her candle, her silent courage. I stand, my steps soft, and leave the cottage, pausing to look back at the faint glow through the window. The stars are clearer now, their light small but steady, and I let them guide me, a promise of rest in a world touched by loss. I'm standing in the shadow of the village church, the morning air cool and heavy with the scent of damp stone and fading incense. The sky is pale, streaked with clouds, and the church looms before me, its steeple stark against the horizon. My breath is slow, matching the faint rustle of leaves skittering across the cobblestones, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the church with me, its presence solemn, its silence a gentle cradle for rest. The church's power, once the village's anchor, is waning, its influence slipping like sand through open hands. I step inside, the air cool and thick with the memory of wax, though no candles burn today. The pews are empty, the altar bare, and the silence is deeper than it was weeks ago, when prayers filled the rafters. The Black Death has shaken the village's faith, not in God, perhaps, but in the church's ability to shield them. I settle into a pew, the wood worn smooth, and feel the weight of that shift, heavy but not harsh, a quiet unraveling of what once held firm. I think of the priest, whose voice used to steady the village, his sermons a thread weaving hope through fear. He's gone now, taken by the fever or lost to the endless task of tending the sick, and the young acolyte who lit candles in his place hasn't been seen in days. The villagers still come, but fewer each time, their prayers whispered in private, their trust frayed. I recall a woman by the well yesterday, her voice bitter as she spoke of unanswered prayers, of a God who seemed to turn away. Her words lingered, a crack in the church's foundation, and I see it now in the empty pews, the unlit candles. I walk to the altar, my footsteps soft on the stone floor, and notice a forgotten rosary, its beads scattered across the cloth. I touch one, its smoothness grounding me, and imagine the hands that held it, their pleas rising like smoke, unanswered. The church was where the village sought meaning, births blessed, marriages sealed, deaths mourned, but the plague has overwhelmed its rituals. I think of Beatrice, the widow, who still prays but does so at her hearth, her faith a private flame, no longer needing the church's walls. Outside, I see signs of the shift, a cross carved into a cottage door, a charm of herbs tied to a gate, rituals born of fear rather than sermons. The village is turning inward, seeking salvation in salt, fire, or whispered chants, not in the church's hymns. I feel a pang for the priest, whose absence leaves a void, and for the villagers, who must navigate this loss alone. The church still stands, its stones enduring, but its power is fading, its voice drowned by the plague's relentless march. I pause by the stream near the church, its water slow and clear, catching the pale light. I kneel and dip my fingers in, the coldness steadying me, and think of the village's faith, reshaped by grief. The Black Death has tested the church, exposed its limits, but it hasn't erased belief, only changed its shape, driven it into homes, into quiet moments by firesides and streams. I cling to that, letting the stream's rhythm anchor me, a reminder that faith, like the village, endures in fragments, stubborn and human. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle flow wrap around you, its steadiness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. The church's power is waning, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the villagers, their shifting faith, their quiet resilience. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the stream, the church fading into the morning mist. A single bird calls, its note faint but clear, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world touched by doubt. I'm standing at the edge of the village, where the dirt road stretches into the hills, the morning air cool and heavy with the scent of dew and distant pine. The sky is a pale gray, the sun hidden behind a veil of clouds, and the road lies quiet, its ruts untouched by wheels or feet. My breath is slow, matching the soft rustle of grass swaying in the breeze, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the road with me, its path fading into the mist, its stillness, a gentle cradle for rest. The village is turning inward, its trust fraying, and strangers are no longer welcome. I notice a crude barrier across the road, a pile of logs and branches, hastily stacked, as if to warn outsiders away. It's new, built by hands driven by fear, and I feel the village's pulse quicken, its warmth replaced by suspicion. The Black Death has made every unfamiliar face a threat, every traveler a carrier of the unseen plague. I touch the rough bark of a log, its surface damp, and think of the stories circulating, tales of cursed wanderers, of sickness brought from distant ports. I walk along the road, my steps soft, and see a man standing guard, his hands gripping a staff, his eyes scanning the horizon. His face is lined, his posture tense, and I recognize him, a farmer who once shared ale with merchants in the square. Now, he's a sentinel, his warmth buried under the weight of duty. He doesn't speak as I pass, but his gaze lingers, sharp with mistrust, and I understand. The village is protecting itself, closing its borders, but the plague is already here, woven into its breath, its soil. I think of the travelers who used to come, merchants with carts of salt and cloth, pilgrims seeking the church's blessings, minstrels with songs of far-off lands. Their arrival was a spark, bringing news, trade, and stories that tied the village to the world. Now, the road is empty, and the village is an island, its people wary of anyone who might cross the hills. I recall a whispered rumor from yesterday, of a peddler turned away at the barrier, his pleas ignored, his cart left to rot in the rain. The villagers called him a harbinger, their fear twisting his worn face into something sinister. I pause by a cluster of wildflowers, their petals drooping, and kneel to touch them, their softness grounding me. The village's suspicion is a wall, higher than the barrier, and it's changing the air, making it harder to breathe. I picture Beatrice, the widow, who once offered bread to strangers, now locking her door at dusk. Even Marjorie, the child, hides from unfamiliar shadows, her stick sword raised against imagined threats. The Black Death has turned trust into a luxury, and the village is poorer for it, its heart growing smaller. I find a flat stone by the road and sit, the coolness steadying me. The hills unfold before me, their slopes shrouded in mist, and I close my eyes, picturing the village as it was open, alive, its square filled with voices from beyond the valley. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the hills' gentle hush wrap around you, their vastness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's fear. The strangers bring new fears, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the villagers, their barriers, their quiet resolve. I stand, my steps soft, and walk back toward the village, the road fading behind me. A faint breeze stirs, carrying the scent of rain, and I let it guide me. A promise of rest in a world closed by mistrust. I'm sitting on a weathered bench near the village stream, the evening air cool and heavy with the scent of wet moss and faint lavender. The sky is a deep indigo, stars flickering through scattered clouds, and the village is cloaked in a stillness that feels both tender and worn. My breath is slow, matching the gentle gurgle of the water, and I want you to feel this quiet too wherever you are. Nestled in your bed, let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the stream with me, its flow steady, its presence a soft guide toward rest. The Black Death has left scars on the village, not just in the graves that crowd the churchyard, but in the hearts and bodies of those who remain. I look across the stream to a cottage, its door closed, a faint glow seeping through the shutters. Inside, I know there are survivors, men, women, children like Marjorie who carry the plague's marks. Some bear physical traces, skin pocked from burst swellings, limbs weakened by fever's grip. Others carry wounds unseen, etched in their minds, their spirits. The village is a tapestry of loss, its threads frayed but still holding, and I feel the weight of their endurance, heavy but not crushing. I think of Beatrice, the widow, whose steady hands knead dough despite her grief, her eyes shadowed by nights spent weeping for her husband and son. Her scar is her silence, the way she moves through the village without her old laughter, yet she rises each dawn, a quiet act of defiance. I picture the young man who dug graves, his hands blistered, his heart heavy with the faces he buried, friends, kin, neighbors. His scar is his gaze, now distant, as if part of him remains in the earth with those he laid to rest. Even Marjorie, hiding in the meadows, carries a scar her innocence dimmed, her world sharpened by fear. I walk along the stream, my steps soft on the damp grass, and notice a woman washing clothes in the fading light. Her movements are slow, her arms trembling, and I see the faint marks on her neck, healed but visible, where the plague swellings once bloomed. She survived, but her husband didn't. And I imagine her nights, alone in a cottage too big, her hands clutching his old cloak. Her scar is her solitude, yet she washes, she works, she breathes, stitching herself back into the village's fragile rhythm. I want to speak to her, to honor her strength, but her focus is on the water, and I let her be, respecting the space her survival demands. The village itself is scarred, its fields untended, its marketplace a memory, its church quieter than it was. The manor stands empty, the noble's flight a wound that festers in the villagers' trust. The stream, once a place of connection, now mirrors their isolation, its banks empty of laughter. Yet it flows, steady and unyielding, and I cling to that, letting its rhythm ground me. The survivors are like the stream. I realize changed, diminished, but enduring, their lives a testament to the village's stubborn heart. I kneel by the water, trailing my fingers through it, the coldness sharp against my skin. The Black Death has taken so much, but it hasn't taken everything. There are still sparks, Beatrice's bread, the gravedigger's labor, the woman's washing, Marjorie's small courage. These are the village's pulse, faint but real, and I feel them in the air, in the earth, in the water's steady flow. The scars are deep, but they're also proof of survival, of a village that refuses to vanish completely. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle murmur wrap around you, its steadiness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's pain. The Black Death has left its marks, but for now, we're here, together, holding space for the survivors, their scars, their quiet resilience. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the bank, the village fading into the night. The stars are brighter now, their light small but steady, and I let them guide me, a promise of rest in a world shaped by endurance. I'm standing in the village square, the morning air cool and heavy with the scent of damp cobblestones and faint wood smoke. The sky is a soft gray, the clouds thin enough to let a pale light filter through, and the village feels like it's stirring, its silence not as deep as before. My breath is slow, matching the soft creak of a cartwheel in the distance, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the square with me, its stones worn, its stillness a gentle cradle for rest. The Black Death has reshaped the village, its losses carving new paths for those who remain. A new order is emerging, fragile but real, as the survivors begin to rebuild their world. I notice a small group of men and women gathered near the well, their voices low but steady, discussing the fields, the mill, the work that can't wait. The plague has taken so many lords, laborers, artisans, but it's also broken old chains, giving those left behind a chance to step into roles once closed to them. The manor stands empty, its nobles gone, and the village is finding its own rhythm, one not dictated by wealth or title. I walk toward the group, my steps soft, and see a woman named Joan, a farmer's widow, speaking with a confidence I haven't heard before. Her hands, rough from years of work, gesture toward the fields, and the others nod, listening. She's organizing the planting. I realize, taking charge where the Lord Steward once stood. The plague has leveled the village's hierarchy, and Joan, once just a laborer's wife, is now a voice of reason, her strength forged in survival. I feel a quiet warmth, a spark of hope in watching her lead, her words weaving the group together. Further along, I pass a young man repairing a fence, his hammer striking with purpose. He's no carpenter. I know he tended sheep before the plague, but with the artisans gone, he's teaching himself, his hands learning the wood's grain. The village needs fences, roofs, tools, and he's rising to meet that need, his labor a bridge between what was and what might be. I think of Beatrice, kneading bread in her cottage, her loaves now shared with neighbors who can't bake. These small acts leading, building, sharing are the village's new foundation, built by those who endured. I pause by the stream, its water clear and steady, and kneel to touch it, the coldness grounding me. The old order, with its rigid lines between noble and peasant, is crumbling, and in its place, something new is taking root. The survivors are claiming power, not with swords or gold, but with their hands, their will, their need to keep the village alive. I think of the marketplace, empty now, but I imagine it stirring again, not as it was, but as something new, shaped by people like Joan, the young man, Beatrice, people who know the cost of loss and the value of what remains. The village is still scarred, its grief heavy, but these changes are a pulse, faint but growing. I notice a woman planting herbs by her cottage, her movements careful, her face calm. She's not just tending her garden, she's planning for a future, however uncertain. The Black Death has taken so much, but it's also cleared space for new voices, new hands, new ways of being. I cling to that, letting the stream's rhythm anchor me, a reminder that even in ruin, life finds a way to begin again. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle flow wrap around you, its steadiness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. A new order is rising, and for now, we're here, together, holding space for the survivors, their labor, their quiet courage. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the square, the village waking around me. A single ray of sunlight breaks through the clouds, its light small but warm, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world finding its balance. I'm walking through the fields just outside the village, the late morning air cool and heavy with the scent of damp earth and sprouting green. The sky is clearing, patches of blue breaking through the clouds, and the fields, though still sparse, show signs of care, newly turned soil, a few hands weeding between rows. My breath is slow, matching the soft thud of a distant hoe. And I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the fields with me, their promise gentle, their rhythm a soft guide toward rest. The Black Death has shifted the village's foundations, and in its wake, laborers are gaining new power, their hands shaping a world that once overlooked them. I see a small group working the barley field, their movements steady, their faces marked by grief but also purpose. Among them is a man named Will, a tenant farmer who once bowed to the Lord's steward, his life bound by rents and obligations. Now, with the manor empty and so many gone, Will stands taller, his voice carrying as he directs the others, deciding which rows to plant, which to leave fallow. I pause by a low hedge, my fingers brushing the leaves, and watch Will hand a hoe to a younger boy, showing him how to break the soil. The boy listens, his hands clumsy but eager, and I realize this is new laborers like Will, once tethered to the land, are now its keepers, their skills more precious than ever. The plague has taken nearly half the village, leaving fields unworked, harvests at risk. Those who survived, like Will, are vital. Their work no longer just duty but leverage. I hear him speak of wages, a word that feels bold, almost defiant, in a village where labor was once traded for protection, not coin. I think of Joan, the widow who led the planting plans, her authority born of necessity. Like Will, she's part of this shift, where peasants are demanding more better pay, fewer burdens, a voice in their future. The nobles, if they return, will find a village changed, its people less willing to bend. I imagine the steward's face, his shock at Will's steady gaze, Joan's firm words. The Black Death has broken the old chains, not with fire or swords, but with absence, creating space for those left behind to claim what was once denied. I walk toward the mill, its wheel turning slowly, a sign that someone, perhaps a survivor learning the trade, has taken up the grindstones. The air smells of flour and river water, and I feel a quiet hope, a spark in the village's slow awakening. The laborer's power is economic, yes, but also human, a recognition of their worth, their ability to rebuild. I picture Beatrice sharing her bread, her small act part of this new balance, where survival depends on shared effort, not just lordly decrees. I sit on a flat stone by the field, the earth firm beneath me, and close my eyes, letting the distant sounds, hoes, voices, the mill's creak fill the silence. The village is scarred, its loss is deep, but these laborers are its heartbeat, their work a rhythm of renewal. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the field's gentle hum wrap around you, their promise a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. The laborers are rising, and for now, we're here, together, holding space for their strength, their quiet power. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the field's edge, the village stirring around me. A breeze carries the scent of new growth, its touch light but sure, and I let it guide me. A promise of rest in a world finding its strength. I'm standing at the edge of the village churchyard, the early evening air cool and heavy with the scent of damp grass and faint candle wax. The sky is a soft lavender, stars just beginning to glimmer, and the church stands quiet, its stone walls bathed in the last of the daylight. My breath is slow, matching the soft rustle of leaves in a nearby oak, and I want you to feel this quiet too wherever you are. Nestled in your bed, let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the churchyard with me, its peace gentle, its stillness a soft cradle for rest. The Black Death has reshaped the village's faith, and new paths are emerging, quieter, more personal, as survivors seek meaning in a world marked by loss. I step into the churchyard, my footsteps hushed on the uneven ground, and notice a small group gathered near an old yew tree. They're not inside the church, as they once would have been, but here, under the open sky, their voices low, their hands clasped. A woman named Sarah, whose steady hands once wove cloth, leads them, her words simple but heartfelt, a prayer for strength, for those lost, for the days ahead. I sit on a low stone, its surface cool, and listen as Sarah speaks, her voice carrying a warmth the church's sermons no longer hold. The group farmers, a young girl, an old man nods, their faces softened by her words. The plague tested the church's power, its promises of salvation faltering as graves multiplied. And many, like Sarah, have turned to their own rituals, their own ways of connecting to something greater. I think of Beatrice, praying by her hearth, or the charms tied to cottage doors, acts of faith, born not from doctrine, but from the heart's need to endure. I walk toward the stream, its water catching the starlight, and see a man kneeling there, his hands cupping water to his face. A quiet act of cleansing, perhaps of renewal. He's not praying in the church's words, but in his own, murmured to the water, the sky, the earth. The village's faith is scattering, I realize, like seeds on fertile ground, taking root in small moments by streams, under trees, in cottages. The church still stands, its bells silent, but its presence a reminder of what was. While these new paths weave a faith that's flexible, grounded in the survivors' lives. I think of the plague doctor, his masked figure a symbol of science's limits, and the bonfires, the charms, the salt scattered at thresholds, superstitions that filled the gap when faith wavered. Now, as the village stirs, faith is becoming something else, a trust in each other, in the work of hands like Will's in the fields, Joan's in leading, Sarah's in praying. It's a faith that doesn't need stone walls or Latin hymns, but thrives in the open, in the shared act of rebuilding. I feel its strength, faint but growing, like a pulse beneath the village's scars. I pause by the stream, kneeling to touch the water, its coldness grounding me. The village is finding its way, not back to what it was, but to something new, where faith is personal, woven into daily acts of care and courage. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle murmur wrap around you, its steadiness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's struggle. Faith is finding a new path. And for now, we're here, together, holding space for Sarah, her prayers, her quiet hope. I stand, my steps soft, and walk along the bank, the churchyard fading into the night. A star shines brighter, its light small but clear, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world seeking meaning. I'm walking through the village at dawn, the air cool and heavy with the scent of fresh earth and budding clover. The sky is a soft pink, streaked with gold, and the village feels like it's waking, its silence laced with faint signs of life, a distant hammer, a soft hum from a cottage, the creak of a gate. My breath is slow, matching the gentle rustle of leaves in a nearby tree, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the village with me, its scars visible but its pulse stirring, guiding you gently toward rest. The village is rebuilding, its steps tentative, its hope fragile like a seedling breaking through soil. I pass a field where a small group works, their hoes rising and falling, turning earth for a late planting. Among them is Will, the farmer, his hands steady, his face calm as he guides the others. The field is smaller than it was, the hands fewer, but the act of planting is a promise, a belief in a harvest to come. I feel a quiet warmth, a spark of renewal, in the rhythm of their work, each stroke a thread weaving the village back together. I walk toward the square, where a single stall stands, its table holding a few loaves of bread and a basket of herbs. Beatrice is there, her gray hair tucked under a cap, her hands offering a loaf to a neighbor. Her smile is small, tempered by grief, but it's there, a sign of her strength, her choice to share what she has. The marketplace is a shadow of its former self, but this stall, this exchange, is a beginning, a step toward reclaiming what was lost. I notice a child, perhaps Marjorie, watching from a doorway, her eyes wide, and I hope she sees this too, a glimpse of the village's heart beating again. The stream runs nearby, its water clear and steady, and I kneel by its bank, trailing my fingers through the cool flow. The village is still wounded, cottages stand empty. The churchyard is heavy with graves, but there are signs of life. A woman mends a fence, a man repairs a cartwheel, a girl plants flowers by her doorstep. These acts are small, but they're deliberate, like stitches closing a wound. I think of Joan, leading the planting, or Sarah, praying under the yew tree. Their efforts part of this fragile hope, this slow rebuilding of a world torn apart. I stand and walk to a cottage where a young woman sweeps her doorstep, her movements careful, her face lit with quiet determination. She's a survivor, her arms marked by the plague's scars, but she's here, claiming her place in the village's future. I feel the weight of her courage, shared by others. Will, Beatrice, the boy learning to hammer, the woman by the stream washing clothes. The Black Death took so much, but it left behind these souls, their resilience a foundation for what's to come. The village will never be what it was, but it's becoming something new, shaped by hands that know both loss and survival. I sit on a bench by the church, the wood worn smooth, and close my eyes, letting the village's faint sounds, voices, tools. The stream's gurgle fill the silence. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the village's gentle stirring wrap around you, its hope a reminder that you're safe, far from its struggle. The rebuilding is slow, but for now, we're here together, holding space for the survivors, their work, their quiet dreams. I stand, my steps soft, and walk through the square, the village waking around me. The sun rises higher, its light warm and steady, and I let it guide me, a promise of rest in a world reaching for renewal. I'm sitting on a low hill overlooking the village, the evening air cool and heavy with the scent of wildflowers and distant wood smoke. The sky is a deep violet, stars twinkling softly, and the valley below glows with the faint light of hearths, a patchwork of life against the darkness. My breath is slow, matching the gentle sway of grass around me, and I want you to feel this quiet too, wherever you are, nestled in your bed. Let your body sink deeper, your thoughts soften. Picture the village with me, its scars softened by dusk, its heartbeat steady, guiding you gently toward rest. The village remembers the Black Death, its memory etched into every stone, every soul. I look down at the cottages, some dark, some glowing, and see the survivors moving through their evening routines. Beatrice kneading dough, Will mending a tool, a young woman sweeping her doorstep. Their hands carry the weight of loss, but also the strength of endurance. Each act a tribute to those gone and a promise to keep going. The plague took nearly half the village, shattered its rhythms, its faith, its bonds, but it couldn't erase its spirit, its stubborn will to survive. I think of Marjorie, the child who hid in the meadows, her eyes wide with fear but also wonder. She's growing now, her stick sword set aside, her steps bolder as she helps her mother, learning the village's new ways. I picture Joan, leading the fields, her voice firm, her hands steady, a woman who found power in the plague's aftermath. The graves in the churchyard, the silent looms. The empty manor, there are the village's scars. But so are the new fields, the single market stall, the prayers under the yew tree. The Black Death changed everything, but it also revealed the village's heart, its ability to bend without breaking. I walk down the hill, my steps soft, and pause by the stream, its water catching the starlight. The village's legacy is in its people. I realize their courage, their grief, their quiet acts of rebuilding. They've learned to value what remains a neighbor's kindness, a shared loaf, a moment of laughter. The plague taught them fragility, but also resilience, and that lesson will shape the village for generations. A story told by firesides, woven into its earth. I kneel and touch the water, its coldness grounding me, and feel the village's pulse, faint but unbroken, flowing like the stream itself. The Black Death was a shadow, but it passed, leaving behind a village that's smaller, wiser, stronger in its own way. I stand and look back at the valley, its lights flickering like stars on the ground, and I know this place will endure, its memory a light against the dark. My mind drifts to you, listening in the dark, your breath slow and even. Let the stream's gentle murmur wrap around you, its steadiness a reminder that you're safe, far from this village's trials. The village remembers, and for now, we're here, together, holding space for its story, its quiet triumph. As I sit here, the village's story settles around me, a reminder of how fragile life can be, yet how strong the human spirit remains. The Black Death was a storm, tearing through homes, hearts, and hopes, but it left behind survivors, people like Beatrice, Will, Joan, Marjorie, who rebuilt with their hands, their courage, their love for this place. Their legacy is a village that learned to cherish what endures: community, resilience, the small acts that stitch a broken world back together. I hope their story has brought you peace, a gentle lullaby to carry you towards sleep. If you've enjoyed this journey, please press that like button and subscribe for more stories that soothe and inspire. Share your thoughts in the comments. Where are you listening from? And what time is it there? Your words connect us, just like the village's bonds. Now, let the stars above the valley fade. Let your breath slow, and let sleep wrap you in its soft embrace.